My debut novel, The Quiet, is now available to pre-order. There are links in the description and there'll be more info at the end.
I walk a road, horizons change,
Recently, and really I mean since I began watching and re-watching Children of Men for another video, I've become fascinated by the ways that editors move between scenes. Not visually, go to someone else for that, Nerd Writer or Every Frame a Painting, but sonically. Take a listen. The Court of the Crimson King is acting as the overarching link in this sequence, allowing the editor to seamlessly jump between different locations: the car, the turbine room, the apartment. It's a sound that's acting as a bridge, but it's technically not a sound bridge. Okay, so let's dive into that one first. A sound bridge is an editing technique that uses music, foley, sound effects, or dialogue to bridge two scenes. So the most common examples use dialogue. Think of the J-cut near the beginning of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
My name is Benjamin.
Benjamin Button. And I was born under unusual circumstances.
The dialogue of the next scene starts early. That's a J-cut, smoothing out the transition. L-cuts, where the audio from the current scene drags on, are slightly less common if you ignore voiceovers, but can produce some interesting effects.
There's a yourself storage facility right outside of downtown Baltimore, sir.
But what happens if there isn't any dialogue to play with? Well, there's always sound effects. These types of sound bridges can be used for comedic effect, or they can be taken a lot more seriously. Keep playing with this and you get things like this bit from Hesher, where the sound of the storm is brought in over a minute before it's shown. Or instead this transition from Australian film Shine, where the ringing phone bridges three scenes and we're led to believe that we're listening to the sound of David's electrical shock therapy. This last example is bordering on an audio match cut, but we'll get to that soon. No, the Children of Men example isn't strictly a sound bridge, because the sound changes as we move inside Battersea Power Station, then into Nigel's apartment. There's no J or L cutting here.
Mr. Farrow.
This is what's called trans-diegesis, where an incidental element, music in this case, switches to being diegetic, something produced by an in-world source. Trans-diegesis is used all the time. It can be used to transition out of the title music, to add extra spice to a scene. Not that this film needs it. To move time or space quickly.
Give me passport.
Or even to tie together a film with way too many moving parts. But I think the most inventive category of sound scene transition happens when, instead of trying to bridge the gap between scenes, the editor just jumps over it. Everyone who's interested in film knows about match cuts. There are a ton of videos about them on YouTube if you want to find out more. But even if you don't know what they are, you'll have certainly seen many in your time. The Barbie one is great. But what if instead of trying to match the visuals, you try to match the sound? The sound of a cartoon panda beating his fists against a door, matching the sound of beating drums. The sound of a sword being sheathed, melding into the hammering of swords in another part of the world at another time. The smash of a cymbal sounding just enough like a steam iron to get you from one scene to the next. These are audio match cuts, and what I like about them is that a lot of them have to be predetermined. If you want a dripping water heater to match the dripping of a cup of tea, you need to film a close-up of your broken pipe, then you need to get the cup of tea with the same depth of field, and maybe you even need to match the colour of the water to land the transition. If you want to morph rainfall into gunfire, you need to film a series of close-ups and medium shots of leaves and water. And then you need to film a close-up of boots running through a puddle. So some of them can be decided in post. Inspiration can come at any time. But I like to think that a lot of these audio match cuts were pre-designed. This one from The Matrix could have been done in the edit. The alarm was certainly manipulated to match the beat of the music, but I'm going to choose to believe that the Wachowskis decided this one before shooting. I know for sure that Spielberg laughed to himself when he came up with this audio match cut for The Lost World. And come to think of it, maybe Alfonso Cuarón did too when he was working on The Prisoner of Azkaban. Or Andrew Haigh when he was editing All of Us Strangers. Is it weird that there are 3 examples of screams turning to the sound of trains? Maybe, and I'm sure there are more out there as well. I think I like these transitions because they feel effortful in a way that really isn't needed. Saving Private Ryan or that episode of Breaking Bad would have been basically identical without the audio match cuts. But the directors or editors or whoever it was put them in decided that it was worth the time and effort to craft these tiny little scene changes. I suppose it's the sum of all these small things that make someone great stand out from someone just good. And if that's the case, then Joe Wright, the woman in the window aside, is a great director. Here's one. And another. And another.
Ready?
And one final honourable mention, the sound of Grace Turner smashing her umbrella against the car, being taken into the score, which turns into the sound of a typewriter, which transitions into Mace playing his harmonica, followed by a final typewriter hit, and the striking of a match. Brilliant.
For God's sake.
Atonement for the win. Thank you so much for watching. As you saw from the intro, my debut novel, The Quiet, is now available to pre-order. So this book follows the story of Hannah and her son Isaac, and they live in a world where an enormous spherical field called the Sound Field has covered the Earth. This field produces a constant background hum and has also accelerated climate change, leading to a massive refugee crisis from the southern hemisphere to the north, and meaning people need to sleep during the day and work at night. The Quiet will be released in the UK and the US in May 2025, and you can now pre-order using the links in the description. Take a look at my website as well for more information about the story. Pre-ordering is really the best way to help out me as an author, as it contributes to first week sales, meaning I'm more likely to get on those elusive bestseller lists. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.